Hi everyone, this is your host Ernie signing in, and welcome to It Only Happens to Ernie podcast. Have you ever felt like you've been sitting on something for so long that it almost starts to feel like it's bigger than you? Like this idea or things that you want to do in life, but you keep putting it off, waiting for that word, the right time. Or maybe even the right version of yourself. And then one day you realize maybe there's no perfect time. Maybe you just have to start, like now. So, this is me starting. This is my first episode. It's called Me, Myself, and My Podcast, which is basically the story of who I am and why I start this. And why it only took me 5 years, you heard that right, 5 years, to finally sit down and record it. So, proper introduction of myself. I'm 29 years old and I live in a small town of West Virginia. I was born and raised in Thailand until I was about 12 years old, and me and my family moved to the United States. I am married to my husband and he's from England. So our household is like this mix of Thai, Chinese, American, and British cultures. And we live with our two cats whose name is Kimchi and Bean. They definitely think that they run the house, and off the record, they definitely do. Okay, starting with the name of this podcast, It Only Happens to Ernie. That is actually something I say all the time. And, I for some reason, whenever I travel, whenever I'm just like living my life and just figuring it out, I always end up in this situation where things just goes wrong or something crazy happen in like a small chaos mini crisis throughout my life. And every time something happens, I would obviously vent to my friends or my husband or whoever, and I always say, I swear it only happens to me, like it only happens to Ernie. And at some point I'm just like realizing, wait, hold on a second, that's kind of a really good podcast name. These are the stories that I want to put in my podcast. And even though at the time I don't have a podcast yet, honestly, at the time, pretend like I was in it. Pretend like, okay, I'm gonna save this. This will be good for the podcast. This is such a good episode for the podcast. And honestly, that's just pretty much how I came up with the name. And you maybe question, like, it only happens to Ernie. Am I just only gonna talk about me, myself, and I? My life, my story. But the answer is hopefully no. Another passion of mine is just to connect with another human being, share their stories. I have so many amazing friends and I've talked to so many amazing people that throughout my life really feel like I would love to absolutely share these people's stories. And I find this beauty in the story of ordinary people who, if you just walking past through them or walking by them, you might not even realize the life that they have lived. And with the job that I used to have, which is traveling, I got to meet a lot of people, talk to a lot of people, and it became honestly my favorite part of the job was to meet people and talk to them and finding out like their life stories. And I really connect with that in a really deep way. So obviously the first episodes being called Me, Myself, and My Podcast is very ironic, the same way that is my podcast name is being ironic, because obviously it's not only happening to me. And before I go into this, I just want to give you a little backstory. It has taken me literally over 5 years now. Like it's going on 6 year at this point. And I started this around when COVID happened. Like I remember I started to listen to a lot of podcasts and I found myself really enjoying that. Not even listening, but I connect with a lot of podcasts and a lot of creators who really put their lives and their story out there, and I really connect with that. And that's honestly where I planted that little seed of mine. And I every year I'm like, oh, like I want to start this, but I never had enough courage to actually finally start. Things would happen to me, and then I was like, oh, that's like that would be such a good episode for the podcast, but I've never done anything with it. It's like it became this almost empty dreams, like a back burner dreams. And I know whoever is listening to this, I know that you probably have at least one as well. So just talking about this and honestly putting myself out there and starting this, I know a lot of people can relate to me because I am just a girl who still figuring life out as we speak. And you know what? I'm doing it. This empty dream, it will not just be a dream. It will be something that I, even at the end of the day, nobody listened, I started, okay? So I'm getting a little off track. But yeah, so it's taken me 5 years to actually finally starting this. The irony of all of this is that I've always visioned my podcast to be with a co-host. I always felt like it would work really well if I have somebody else validating my point of view of my stories or my life or whatever, and that I need somebody else to like sort of balance me out. I'm not just like yapping to myself. So I remember asking my husband a while back when this became like just an idea. And he's like, I love you, babe, but this is not my dream. This is your dream. And I think you should start it just by yourself. And I think a lot of it was obviously fear, but I think I was just not confident enough to maybe even believe in myself that I could do this all on my own. So this very first episode name is, yes, it's like me, myself, and I, and me, myself, and my podcast, but literally it's a reminder for me and hopefully for you as well that you do not need anybody approval. You do not need a hero or anyone to come and save you to start something in your life. I am so scared starting this right now. I cannot even begin to tell you. Like, I don't even know why I'm scared. That's the thing. It's like this fear, right, of rejection and like this self-doubt and all these things that I've had. But yet I am like, I'm finally starting it. And so this is a reminder that at the end of the day, you don't need a co-host. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't even need anybody to guarantee that they would listen to what you have to say, or should I say, what I have to say. I am doing this completely all on my own, and it's just me. And this is me just deciding to show up for myself. Which bring me to another topic of, and I'm getting like sidetracked, but this is like how I've been feeling for this. Honestly, the past 6 months, I would say, but really, like, I've really gotten to it ever since I turned 29 back in December. But this is whole main character energy. I want to own my story. Like, I want to own up to myself and to my life. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but my whole life has always felt like I need to be smaller. I've always try to reserve a lot of who I am and what I have to say or what I think I can say or what I like who I can be, honestly. So coming forward with not only just this podcast, but also this whole like main character energy, quote unquote, um, is me finally just giving myself grace in like not a selfish way, in the way that I've realized like this is my life and I am allowed to take space in it. I am allowed to tell my stories for me, and this podcast is that space for me. And the reason why, as well, I want to start this podcast is because I've always loved creating. If you follow me on social media, like Instagram, especially, I've loved to create content like vlog, memories, content, that sort of thing. I've also cook a lot. So I just, in general, love to create. And prior to like this influencer and content creating era, back in the day when Tumblr was a thing, I was blocking. I would write, I don't even know what you would call it. It would just be like a writing and creating quotes and different things. Like that's how I was expressing myself. And, so writing, journaling, reflecting. I love capturing thoughts and moments and turning into something meaningful. And for a long time, I didn't know what to do with that part of myself. My friend even said this about me, like when I mentioned that I want to start a podcast. She's like, you always had this thing about like writing. I've noticed you always put it in the way into like things that you create. You always have a way of writing. So this is, I think, another part of me that I want to sort of extend my arm out and like hold my hand, like my own hand, and just be like, yeah, this is something that hopefully would fill up, this can sound so sad, but hopefully filled up that void that I have, that yearning, that like creating something bigger than myself and maybe leaving some sort of imprint behind the world. And by doing this is just I just want to tell my story. Not just my story, but my family stories, my friends' story, people's stories in general. People you see every day who you don't really know them until you actually sit down and actually listen to them. Another thing I've been thinking about lately, as I'm trying to figure out my career and the current job situation, I have been asking myself, what do I actually want to do? And I know that sounds such a cliche question to ask yourself, but really, what do I actually want to do? You know how people say, find something that doesn't feel like a job. And this past 6 months, I've really thought about this and I've really questioned myself. What is something that I would wake up, no matter how I feel that day, it wouldn't feel like work. It would just feel like this is what I want to do and this is all I want to do. And I cannot believe it takes me 5 years, but when I think about this question, all I can think of genuine answer is just this, is starting this. It's this podcast, is sharing, creating this, talking, storytelling, not just my life, but people around me are full of stories. My dad, who recently passed away almost a year ago, now in April, hopefully, I'll be able to release this in honor of him I want to create space where my stories, people's stories can exist. So I have an idea of maybe creating a segment, a note to my 12-year-old self. And I thought it would be a really good idea. Hopefully, when I can start inviting different people I want to interview, I want to create this segment or maybe this like question of what would you say to your 12-year-old self? If you could go back and tell yourself a couple of things at that age, what would you say? And so, since it's just me, myself, and my podcast, I am going to leave a little note for my 12-year-old self today. My 12-year-old self, I've just recently moved to this new country, and it has been quite a ride, to say the least. Definitely been quite a ride. And all the things I would say, I know you're going to feel, oh, I'm like, I didn't think I would get emotional, but I am getting emotional because just right before I start recording, I had this conversation with my husband. And a lot of it has to do with actually very much this. It has to do with this part of who I am, which is just my younger self, not knowing a thing about the world, but yet like know too much of it already, if you understand what I'm saying. Oh, okay. So, giving myself some grace here. So, I would say, I know you're going to feel lost sometimes, and you're going to feel like you don't fully belong anywhere. But one day, all of those experiences are going to become your voice. And the things that make you feel so different than everybody else's are actually the things that will make your stories worth telling. And Ernie, I know you don't know it yet, and you would never believe me when I tell you this at that moment, but I am so, so proud of you for being who you are, to carry yourself the way that you have been, and I see you, girl, and you're gonna be okay. That was quite a heavy note to be closing in on. I don't mean it to be that emotional, but this is the whole point of this podcast, is to open up myself and be real with myself and owning up my stories and really creating that space for me. And as we're closing in on this episode, I am going to leave another real note with you here. And I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know who's actually going to listen to this, because a lot of my self-doubt voice is telling me, who is going to listen to you just yapping for like 30 minutes? And, all of these questions, right? But I told myself, even just, and this is the core of it, I told myself, if one person listens to this and feels seen or understood or feel a little less alone, then that's enough for me. Because this is something I've been afraid to start for 5-6 years now. And the fact that I'm even here right now recording this already means something. So thank you to anyone who was listening, for tuning in, listening to me yap. And I hope you're tuning in for the next episode. Thank you for listening. Bye. And that's a wrap on this episode of It Only Happens to Ernie podcast. This is your host, Ernie, signing out.